Good morning, Dr. Keesha here for the Mystic Medicine Monday morning message. I'm a little bit late getting on this morning for my 8:30 a.m. Facebook Live because I got into my office and I had some surprises for me, which changed the whole thing I was going to talk about today. Today I want to talk about, because of what I found in my office, gratitude as medicine. Last week for the Mystic Medicine Monday morning message, we talked about the power of prayer and contemplation and doing all this in group and what that does to the environment of people in the area that group meditation or group prayer and miracles that can occur from it. Well, gratitude is much the same thing. When we have what I used to call a gratitude attitude when I was raising my children, if they were feeling entitled or acting entitled or, giving me some rash of crap for something that them not getting what they wanted, I used to sing this little song, "It's all about gratitude, pick a good one." And they still do that today. They hear that voice in their heads. And since we're just coming off of Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there, and I would say to all women, because even if you haven't birthed a child, then you actually are a mother to someone or some project, something, because that creative energy in Eastern philosophy is called Shakti, and it's a necessary energy. The creativity, good morning Sarah, is what births new ideas into the world and new projects and new blessings for everyone to have. So it's that Shakti female energy that does that. Hi, Louise. So I wanted to show you what I came into my office to. First of all, a student of mine had borrowed my brain. So my little brain, because she created the most amazing augmented reality program from it that it's now health coaches and medical providers can use to show the effects of stress on the brain, because that's one of the things I teach at the Academy for Integrative Medicine Health Coach Certification Program is what happens between your ears actually impacts the rest of what goes on in your body. So when I have people come in to see me for hormone imbalance or GI distress, good morning Susan, then usually I start asking questions about what's going on in their minds, because whatever is going on in your head, actually those little neurotransmitters that come from the brain tell your body what to do next, including your hormones. And so your hormones can go crazy if you are feeling threatened in any way. And we can feel threatened by the simplest of things. Somebody can say something in a way that we feel not recognized or not valued or not loved or not appreciated, and we'll go into this brain stem area. So this part of the brain, if you open it up, this is your brain stem, and you've got your amygdala, and that's connected to this, and this actually is what we call the fight or flight response. This is your primal brain, your reptilian brain. It's the part of us that we have from the very beginning. And when we're small children, before the age of 26 actually, so we're not adults till we're 26, this front part of the brain, which is called the prefrontal cortex, this is the part of brain that has to do with executive function. So this whole big part, you can see it's a large part of it. It's not developed till you're 26 years old. And that part is the part that we make good decisions from, good choices from, like what we're putting on the end of our fork, what we're putting in our cup, how we're spending our time, how we're spending our money, how we're communicating with the people around us. Well, when I came into my office today, I was feeling fairly neutral. So my whole brain was being utilized. I wasn't in fight or flight. And, anything can happen when you get to work or when you start driving out on the road, right? And if you're not aware and have mindfulness around your brain here, this little guy, and the different parts of the brain that can get instigated by whatever it is that you're thinking and feeling, then you may not have intention about staying in this front part, right? In this part that's your adult brain. So when I came into my office today, I had this really beautiful little note on my desk. And it says, "Thank you." And this is the thing that changed what I was going to talk about this morning, was seeing this little note on my desk from a former patient of mine. And it said, "Thank you. We appreciate the thoughtfulness and the generosity of your gift." Well, I was very confused because I didn't even know she was getting married, and I hadn't sent her a gift. So I turned it over, and on the other side of it, she said, "Dear Dr. Keesha, you may be thinking, what gift?" And that's exactly what I was thinking. And she goes on to say, "As you didn't even know I was getting married. However, you contributed to the greatest gift of all, my health. Without your care and guidance, I would never have attracted this most amazing man. We married March 9th in Santa Ana, Pueblo, New Mexico. In 9 days, I will be in our new home in Philadelphia with the support of the rest of her family." And she goes on. And she talks about this new man that she has brought into her life and how he brings out the playful side of her. And you can see from this picture just how much fun it looks like they're having, yeah? So this word that's on the front of it, thank you, that's gratitude. And that changed everything in my brain this morning. Just that beautiful thoughtfulness that she had had. And along with this brain that had arrived in the mail for me from my student Tina, she had also sent a thank you note for letting her borrow my brain for as long as she said the brain is coming home. And she said, "I'm also including a jar of my grape jelly. I went and I picked the grapes and I crushed the grapes and I made the jelly. And I would love your feedback about how you like my jelly." You know, this, as you can tell, is very heart-touching to me. And so what it does, like what my brain then tells the rest of my body to do, is to have an open heart and to feel safe. So that fight or flight response is nowhere near me right now. Instead, I'm feeling very connected to God, to the divine, to source, whatever it is that you want to say. I'm feeling an immense amount of connection to humanity and to people who are doing really wonderful things in the world. And that's because there was some thoughtfulness when I came into work today. And yesterday, of course, my children showered me with thoughtfulness. Now, what I want to say then is that this affects your health too. So I'm now triggered into this, am I showing gratitude to the people who are meaningful to me in my life? Like Susan, who I love and adore. She has also been a student of mine and she's now a dear friend. And I just want to tell her that I love her. And, you know, all of my tribe that I have out here is so amazing. The Academy for Integrative Medicine, my students, my patients, my friends, my family. There's a great deal of gratitude that's happening inside of my cells right now. And what my cells are going to do is they're going to then be able to take in, I love you too, Susan, and they're going to be able to take in the nutrition that I eat for breakfast this morning. Hi, Susan Pierce. And they're going to be able to take it in with all of the reverence that it's delivered to them with. And if I were in a fight or flight mode and I weren't mindful when I eat my food, then it won't do that. My body won't do that. The cells won't do that. Instead, they'll be in a completely different space, and different hormones, cytokines, immune system elements are going to be present in my body. And what happens is when you go into fight or flight, your digestive system, because your adrenal glands, those little guys that respond to stress, have said, oh, we're in danger, that releases cortisol out into the body. The cortisol then can break down your cellular wall. All the little cells that are on the inside of your intestinal wall too will start to get separated. And so Susan Pierce is saying, I can't eat. Yes, that's exactly what happens. If you're in fight or flight, then you can't take in the light. And, you know, when you can't take in the light, that means you can't take in the nutrients that the earth is providing for us, that have been fed by the sunlight, that have been fed by the water, that have been fed by the nutrients of the soil. Instead, we have a shield. We have a shield around us because we don't feel safe. And that same shield is around our cells. And they won't take up the energy and the nutrients that are meant to be provided to them, even though you're putting it in your mouth. So gratitude is medicine. It's so important to feel it as you're taking in your food. So if you haven't had breakfast yet, what I would say is, and my breakfast is in this little super greens container, my husband, it was empty, and so he put my juice in here. So every morning he juices me vegetables, and so I have a deep amount of gratitude every time I take that juice because he made it for me, and to Mother Earth for providing these vegetables, and to the divine plan of this planet and all of us as humans that get to interact with one another in this way. So if you have that kind of gratitude, then when you take in your food, as Ayurvedic medicine, the sister science of yoga, which is 5,000 to 10,000 years old, said, we're a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe. So one of the things that's true about that is if our soil's not healthy, then our cells won't be healthy. If our water's not healthy, then we won't be healthy. But Dr. Emoto, when he looked at how water molecules change in response to light and to energy of the voice, music, and our thoughts, just our thoughts, the water can change. What Dr. Emoto showed is that gratitude and love changes the molecular structure of water. So even if it does have toxins in it, hi Jolene, then it's going to come into your body in a different way if you don't have a shield around you because you feel unsafe. So whenever you give somebody gratitude, just like when I came to work today and this was sitting on my desk, this thank you, and I had my brain back with a nice little jar of grape jam, that changes my body's structure. Even though I feel gratitude to my husband for making my juice and to Mother Earth for giving me these vegetables, it's just up-leveled everything, right? Hi, Jolene. It's so good to see you. So when you have gratitude, it's changing the molecular structure of your own cells because you are more than 60% water, and of the structure of the cells that are coming into your body. So when we start thinking about toxicity in the environment and everything is so awful and we're actually breaking apart our earth and we're destroying everything, if you're eating with that thought process, then the way Ayurvedic medicine says is you won't digest your food properly, and that next tissue layer that you're meant to build won't be built properly because there are 7 different tissue layers, and as each one is built from the proper metabolism of the food, the feelings, and the experiences and beliefs that you have in your mind, then you create life force called ojas. And if you do it correctly, you get ojas from that food because your tissue layer is built properly, which then builds the next tissue layer. It's kind of like yogurt. When you have a probiotic, so I make my coconut milk yogurt from our probiotic here at the clinic, and it's a powdered form. It's called Probiotic Intensive. I take that, I put it in my coconut milk. I make my yogurt in an Instapot, which, by the way, the recipe is coming out in my brand new cookbook. So that's coming out. Watch you guys' email today or tomorrow because the link for getting that cookbook is coming in the next 2 days. I'm so excited about it. So anyway, I digress. So that yogurt recipe is in there. And when you eat your yogurt, if you'll save a little bit from the batch that you made, then you can use that as a starter and you don't have to have a probiotic for the next batch. That's exactly how our tissues are made. You have a starter, if you do it properly, for the next tissue layer. But if you didn't do a good job, thank you, Susan. If you didn't do a good job on the first level, then the next level is impacted and you don't have the proper ojas or life force and vitality. And so the way Ayurveda thinks about it is then when you don't have enough ojas, you actually die. This is what causes disease because your cells aren't getting the nutrients they need. And one of the reasons that we don't get the nutrients we need is if we're in fight or flight, if we're in fear. So mystic medicine, right, the reason I call it that is because I always say the mysteries that are keeping us stuck are hidden from us? No, they're hidden by us. So we always think like something outside of us is influencing it, but no, actually, the mysteries are hidden by us. Hi, Bob. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. So we hide our own mysteries from us. So mystic medicine is figuring out what it is that's up here that's blocking us from full vitality. So remember, this plays a huge part in it. Our consciousness, which is mind, which is not brain, does too. But the brain follows the mind, okay? And so if our mind is having some struggle with something, the brain, in each part of it, will be impacted. So if we're going into a childhood thought process, and in my case it would be, I am not good enough, or I'm not perfect, and I'm not worthy of even survival, that's the one I made up when I was 10 years old, then it'll activate this. When this happens, then the neurotransmitters that are responsible for activating the adrenal glands and saying, I'm in danger, 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 will release cortisol, which then makes us have a shield around the cells in the same way we have a shield around us because we think we're in danger. So remember that whatever shield you're putting up to shield yourself from, you're also doing to yourself, okay? That's mystic medicine, is figuring out what you're doing to yourself as you're trying to protect yourself from something outside of yourself. That's the gist of it. And gratitude is a key that you can use to open up that mind cage. I always call them mental cages that we get ourselves caught in. So gratitude is the key that can open that and set you free. I was just talking to my daughter yesterday. We had a little Mother's Day celebration, and she was saying, Mom, your voice is in my head every time I drink alcohol. Because, I know you say that it's not good for you. So I feel ashamed when I drink. And I said, oh, honey, no. No. She says, well, I never want to disappoint you. And I said, well, what you're doing right now is, instead of saying, oh, I'm disappointing myself, you're inserting Mom into that place as the authority, right? The voice that's saying, this is bad, this is bad. And I'm saying, no, that's not bad. That every single time we make a choice, it has a natural consequence. Now, when you get to be over 20 years old, and most of you listening to me right now are over 20 years old, you're supposed to go from child brain, right, where the locus of control is external. In other words, authority is telling you what's right and what's wrong. So it's the priest, it's the parents, it's the teacher, it's the law, is telling you what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, to internal. So once you get out of adolescence, your locus of control goes inside. And that's supposed to then say, okay, now I make my own choices. I'm in charge of my own reality. I'm the one that writes my story. So locus of control is internal. So that means I can't blame my parents for everything that goes wrong in my body or in my life, my relationships. Now I have to say, okay, now I have to take responsibility. That's growing up. And when you take responsibility, you're implementing the prefrontal cortex, the adult part of your brain. And now you're saying, okay, I'm fully responsible for my choices. So I handed that back to her and I said, there's no way, no how I can be disappointed in you because I don't have a preconceived notion of how you're supposed to live your life. You're on your own path. I'm walking parallel to it. I'm no longer holding you in my arms. I'm no longer making sure you get the right foods because you are now out of the nest. So locus of control is internal. So all of you that are listening to me, that is what is true for you too. So it's no longer Mom's fault. It's no longer Dad's fault. And their voices are no longer supposed to be the ones that, like Charlie Brown voice, wah, 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 wah. Now you bring it internal. And that takes practice and intention and focus. And so she said, oh, I've got to think about this. So I said, now instead of putting my voice in there, put your older, wiser self voice. What would your older, wiser self look like? What would she or he be like? If you were to go forward 40 years from your age right now, if you're 80 and you're listening to me and you're going to go past 100, what would that ancient, right? What would that very old, wise soul have to say to you about whatever choice you're about to make? And it's always going to be a compassionate voice. That older, wiser being has already lived all of these things and knows that not much really matters but love and gratitude. And so at the end of the day, that's what you focus on. So bring that older, wiser self in instead of the authoritarian voice of your parents or some other caregiver or your priest that's saying this is bad. Because your older, wiser self isn't going to say that. There's not going to be bad and there's not going to be good. There's going to be love. There's going to be appreciation and support and pride in how well you're doing. And love even though you fall down and make a mistake, because those are the places that you grow in. So gratitude for everybody that has been a teacher for me right now, and that's every one of you that right now are watching, and gratitude for every mistake I've ever made, because it's actually helped me to be able to get to the space of wisdom I'm in today at 53, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited for what that'll look like when I'm 80. It's going to be better. So that's where the mistakes come in, right? Really important. So if you find that you think you're disappointing someone, insert yourself, because you're not disappointing anyone else. You're disappointing only yourself. And so then have some gratitude for the process, some appreciation, because then you won't have a big shield around yourself and you won't have a shield around your cells. And it won't impact your hormonal balance and your digestive process and all the things like your energy level, your libido level, your weight, your ability to focus and have concentration and to manifest into this world your great, amazing, unique gifts, which, please, that's what you're here for. Susan, thank you, Dr. Keesha. You've been such a wonderful teacher and friend. Oh, you too, Susan, all of you. So have a really wonderful Monday morning and take this mystic medicine message and share it with everybody else, because I think we all need to know this. And I am going to say thank you to Sammy for sending me this thank you, and thank you to Tina for sending me this jelly, because you got my cells wide open today so that when I drink my juice, I'm going to have the most amazing digestive process ever this morning. So happy Monday morning, everybody.